week's episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures is brought to you by Cordova Coolers, a cooler adventure.
The hunt that I look forward to more than any other every season, bar none, are the special hunts that we do up at our ranch in Oregon. We bring in the kids that have life-threatening diseases, and we get to hunt elk during the peak of the rut. It's the end of September, early October, and we get to use a rifle. That's a time of the year that's normally reserved for archery hunters, and this hunt's made possible because the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife has a special tag program for these kids so that they can get the equivalent of a governor's tag. And we come out to a place where the elk gather during the peak of the rut and have an amazing experience. Every year, my goal has been to take 2 kids on these special hunts. And this year I got to do 3. Now, first up is Cooper Meshew, a young man from Ohio with a unique disease and an amazing story.
Cooper is a delightful 12-year-old boy who has the misfortune of suffering from a very rare form of a hereditary motor sensory neuropathy, which is commonly referred to as Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. The symptoms that Cooper is experiencing is primarily a progressive loss of muscle strength. He's had a lot of wasting or atrophy of the muscles, particularly around his shoulders and arms. Unfortunately, in 2016, there's no known effective treatment for Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease. And for Cooper, his form is particularly rare, so we really don't know a lot about it.
Cooper is phenomenal. When I met him a couple years ago, he had all kinds of abilities, and he has lost some of those abilities over the years, but he continues to be able to persevere and wants to pursue all of the interests that he had leading up to the point that he got his diagnosis.
Cooper and his family decided to drive all the way out to Oregon from their home in Ohio, and we shipped them a camera so that they could document their trip all the way across the country.
This trip from start to finish has been a long one. Scott worked a 24-hour shift, came home, grabbed a shower. We hit the road on Wednesday at 7:30 in the morning and started driving, and it was a 36-hour drive here.
While they were driving, I was flying home from an extended moose hunt in Alaska, driving home a day before everyone was to arrive. And the next day, I met up with Cooper and his family at my office. Well, I just got back out of town from Alaska. Cooper Meshew and his family drove in. Got in last night. Looks like we're gonna meet up with him here. I can hardly wait to meet Cooper.
Yep.
I'm Steve.
I'm Heidi. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Cooper.
Hey.
What's going on, buddy? How you feeling?
Good.
Good. You ready to go elk hunting?
Yep.
Awesome. I'm Steve.
Scott. Nice to meet you.
Scott. Well, hey, let's go in the office real quick. I got some tags and paperwork and stuff like that in there. Gotta have you sign your hunting license. This you just sign right there, okay?
First name there?
Yep, first and last name right there, buddy. There's elk everywhere. I got in there last night, got to see a nice 7x6 downsplash his head in the pond. And tonight we've got a really good chance of getting this hunt started off right and fast. After handling the paperwork, we loaded up in the trucks and drove up to the lodge in the center of the ranch. I quickly showed them around and got them settled into their bedrooms, and I wanted to hunt that first evening, so it was gonna be critical to get Cooper out shooting the rifle that we have all the kids hunt with here at the ranch. I'm gonna get you set up right here, shooting right downrange. So. Cooper proved he could shoot, the gun was dead on, and we were ready to go hunting. The Ponderosa Ranch is special. It's a place that a number of elk gather during the rut, and it's the only time that they're really there in numbers. This is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Cooper's first elk hunt. Hopefully, find that big bugger before it gets dark.
This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Burris Optics. Find what matters. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by CVA Muzzleloaders. It's just a better gun. With Cooper all sighted in, we were ready to go hunting. I wanted to get in one good evening hunt
just before dark so that I could show Cooper his first elk in the wild and get this hunt off to the right start.
Stand of trees right here and get set up. Got an old blind here that's all crushed down from the snow weight. The snow's been a good spot for me.
Cooper's hunted before, but always from a deer blind or other concealed and fixed locations. And we usually hunt elk by moving and chasing the elk, or spotting the herds and stalking or ambushing them. But that requires being mobile, and I just wasn't quite sure that Cooper was up to that. I checked the wind direction and planned a setup that would give us a good place to lay in wait for the elk that would surely show up just before dark. After getting set up, we didn't need to test Cooper's patience for long. Within 30 minutes, the first bull showed up. He's a small 5x5 that gave us a glimpse just before he went in the timber.
What did you think, like the first time that you saw an elk in real life? And what were you thinking?
They were big. They were really big. It was kind of awesome.
With the warmer than usual September weather, the bulls got really vocal as darkness closed in. And I enjoyed the expressions on Cooper's face as he heard his first bugles up close, and listened to the sounds of September as the herd bull and his harem got closer and closer, undoubtedly planning to enter the meadow well after dark.
First morning of Cooper's hunt. We went out last night for a great evening hunt, but we're going to leave those elk alone. We're going to let those elk come back in the meadows tonight, just the way they have been every night. We don't want to disturb them at all, but we're going to hunt these elk that are up here on top near the lodge. We got to get going. We got about 500 yards to go before we kind of get into what we call elk country.
You can't really go sit somewhere in the mornings. The elk only come to the meadows in the evenings. So in the mornings, you have to be mobile. My plan was to walk from the lodge toward the bedding areas and hope to catch the elk somewhere in between. We followed the bugles, and I had a good sense of where they were headed. I took a shortcut, but they still got in front of us. And we moved up below the ponds where I could hear their bugling. I couldn't see them, but their bugles gave away their position. And as soon as Cooper was ready, I started cow calling. At first I could only see his tops, but then he walked out into the open. This bull had been out wallowing all night long and he was caked in mud. He was looking for that lovesick cow. And I took one really good look at his antlers and realized that he was a 7x6. I conferred with Cooper and we decided that this was a bull that we should take if we could. This is where the CMTD became a reality for me. When this bull was out in the open, we got in the gun, Cooper's looking through the scope, he's got his finger on the trigger, and I'm controlling the buttstock of this gun. He's telling me left, right, up, down. The elk would move. About the time we got the crosshairs on it, it would take a few steps. We repeated this process over and over again until the elk finally walked out of sight. I knew that I needed to come up with something different if we were going to be able to succeed. I needed to be able to see what he could see through the rifle scope.
We've had a pretty good morning hunt. A lot of elk activity. All the elk are going in the thickets now. The sun's getting up pretty high. Starting to see it come through the trees here. We're gonna back out, let them have the bulk of the day to just sleep and lay around. We'll be back down the meadows and ponds tonight waiting for them. Hopefully the bull we're looking for will show up.
This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Bergara Rifles, a passion for precision, every barrel, every rifle. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Cordova Coolers, a cooler adventure.
One of the challenges we've been running into is that because Cooper doesn't have like control of his hands and can't support the gun and make the adjustments, I'm having to make the adjustments with my hand, and he's trying to whisper to me up, down, left, right. Of course the animal's moving. I needed to figure out a way that I could see through the scope at the same time that he was, hence the phone scope adapter. This was something that they actually made to go on an eliminator. Turns out it's a perfect fit for the C4, and I'm pretty excited about it because this is going to let me see what he sees, get the crosshairs on the animal, work with him, not against him. We won't have to fight it anymore. We'll get the crosshairs dead on the animal, pull the trigger, and the rest will be history.
Now, I could see everything that Cooper could see, and we had a fighting chance. We headed out for that evening hunt with some high expectations and renewed confidence. And while the hunt started out fast, with a glimpse of the same 6x5 from the night before and another spike, the bugling bulls stayed back in the dark timber.
Surrounded by bugling bulls. Just, they wouldn't step in the clear for us. They started late tonight, but better late than never. We'll be back in here tomorrow morning. Hopefully we'll get a shot of one.
The next morning, it was time to take it up a notch. So I had my good friend Cody Bowen come along. Cody is perfect for working with these kids because he is so patient. So the plan was that Cody would be with Cooper and the gun so that he could focus on them, and I could focus on the elk and getting us in position for a shot at a big bull. That morning, we hiked all over and finally caught up with the elk as they went into their bedding area. So we backed out and planned our evening hunt.
We were in them this morning. Elk were all around us, and I thought I had them called back out a couple of times, so it just didn't work out. They wouldn't come out of the thickets, but we know where the main body of the herd with the big herd bull went and bedded for the day. Tonight could be the night. The weather conditions are perfect.
The whitetail buck comes up from down here, and the mule deer buck comes from the outside back there. Should I be windy? The wind comes this direction.
We got down to our ambush site and got set up about 2 hours before dark. We hadn't been there 30 minutes when a pack of coyotes entered the meadow and worked their way around to the pond. As the sun started to set, we had yet to see an elk, but the bugling in the distance told us where they were at, and it was time to get up and make something happen. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Marathon Seat Covers. We've got you covered. This segment of Steve's Outdoor Adventures has been sponsored by Cordova Coolers, a cooler adventure. If you'd like to book your own guided big game hunting adventure, give my office a call. I will personally take your calls, answer your questions, and help you book the hunting or fishing trip of a lifetime.
It's almost dark. We got a bull bugling right up here in the timber. We're gonna move up to the edge of this meadow and kind of make our final stand for the evening. The elk have been pretty quiet tonight. It's pretty disappointing, but it's a lot of time left. Anything can happen in 20 minutes.
It's kind of like a lot of tension that it was our last night hunting and we need to get a bull, and it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of stressful maybe a little bit.
My hope was that the bull would step out in the meadow to see the cows that he thought were calling his name. But instead, he started working his way down our side of the meadow, back in the trees. I needed to do something before he ended up behind us, and I was running out of daylight. So I set up the camera and I hit record with everybody framed up wide in front of me, and I took off. My only hope was to circle around the back of the meadow and try and draw this bull across the meadow right in front of him for a short range shot. Cody saw what I was attempting to do. We knew that he was about to step out in the open, and he had Cooper set up perfectly. And when the bull stepped out in the open, sure enough, he was a big 6x6.
Yes.
And I've said this many times before. These elk do things for the kids that I would never see at any other time. And I've always felt like the hand of God has played a role in all of these hunts.
I can't explain the struggles, the obstacles that you overcome to make this all happen. And it's done. We did it. You know, something happens out there that's I can't explain. I can't explain. There's somebody else that's helping. There's somebody else that's looking down and connecting the dots for these kids. I'm just one man that's here that has a little bit of experience and is blessed enough to be here. Somebody else is getting these elk in the right spot. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's tough, isn't it? There's a lot of animal there. That's the biggest thing you've shot yet, huh?
Yep.
What do you think of elk?
Tough.
Yeah, they're not easy to hunt, are they?
No.
I take for granted being able to squeeze the trigger, being able to move the gun, being able to, you take all that for granted until you're in that spot and oh man, Cooper, that was amazing, buddy. I'm so proud of you.
Persistence.
Yeah.
We'll bring the pickup in and we'll set up some lights and we'll do some damage.
Look at that thing.
Wow. Great job.
That's awesome.
It's huge.
And they're still going off there.
Congratulations. Are they?
Oh,
Sounds like
great job.
It was funny because Cooper, after he shot it, I guess he told Cody, he says, that's like a horse with horns. I mean, this thing had a huge body. And we just got word today when they took it to the butcher that it was the biggest one that came into their butcher shop so far this year.
And it was just amazing how big they are. I don't know how to explain it. Thank you to everybody who helped make this happen. It was wonderful.
These are emotional times for everyone. You know, the hunt's ended, but the life goes on. And while Cooper heads home to continue his battle with CMTD, our next young hunter is arriving at the ranch the next day. It's Amber Mozingo's turn to hunt the bugling bulls of the Ponderosa. The rut is just heating up, and I promise you, this is not a hunt that you want to miss. It's an elk hunt for the ages. But right now, that's all the time we have for this week's show. But please, once again, remember to join us again for next week's episode of Steve's Outdoor Adventures. But we leave you tonight with this look back at the life of Cooper Meshew, and we send him out our strength as he continues his battle against the Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease.
I don't have the key, so just let me in. And I can't say that I understand, though I've been where you've been. 'Cause I wanna be the gravity that keeps you on Earth, so you don't go flying back to where you came from. I wanna be the happiness that lets your arms open wide. I'm not afraid of who you've become, and I can't promise it'll be okay, but I can promise you that I will stay.